Well, hey everyone! It seems like cocktail season is upon us again now that it's finally, I think, springtime. So what are we going to start with in 2021? Well, today we're going to talk about a little drink called the Tom Collins. Maybe you've heard of a man who goes by the name of Tom Collins. He's loud, he's rude, and he tends to talk bad about everyone he knows. That includes you. He was just saying the most horrible things about you. If I were you, I wouldn't stand for it. In fact, you should probably go confront him now. He's just at the bar down the road. This was the setup for the great Tom Collins hoax of 1874, a practical joke that swept the nation that year, beginning, of course, in New York. Once you got your friend or the subject of the joke all riled up about this person talking bad about them or talking about them in a rough manner, you would tell them to go to the bar and confront the fellow. Only, Tom Collins didn't exist. They would get so flustered searching for the non-existent man that they would ask the barkeep, who in return would provide them with a delicious cocktail. So how did such an elaborate joke take over the nation? Well, the newspapers certainly played their part. At first, newspapers, like the Decatur Daily Republican, reported on the nuisance Tom Collins as if he were a real person, clearly not in on the joke. Tom Collins still among us. This individual kept up his nefarious business of slandering our citizens all day yesterday, but we believe that he succeeded in keeping out of the way of his pursuers. In several instances, he came well nigh being caught, having left certain places but a very few moments before the arrival of those who were hunting him. His movements are watched today with the utmost vigilance. Even after the newspapers caught on to the gag, they decided to get in on the joke by reporting sightings of Tom Collins throughout the nation. Songs were even written about the great Tom Collins hoax, and while I'm not going to sing for you, here's a quick snippet of the lyrics of Tom Collins' humorous song. Full many now have heard of him and tried to find him out, but who he is and what he is there still remains a doubt. But I conclude 'tis done for sport, as boys must have some fun. The myth that's going round about, Tom Collins ain't no one. Now, to be clear, before the great Tom Collins hoax, there was already a drink called the John Collins, named for the English bartender John Collin, who was famous for his gin punch. The gin punch was very similar to the Tom Collins, but it was Jerry Thomas, the father of American mixology, who came up with the actual Tom Collins around the time of the joke, likely paying homage to both the gin punch and the joke itself. He changed things up slightly by using Old Tom Gin instead of Genever and adding soda water. Okay, so to make a Tom Collins, first you need a Collins glass, You fill it with ice, or pretty much fill it with ice. And you need gin. Now, in the description, I talked about a certain type of gin that is used for a Tom Collins. I don't have that kind of gin, but whatever you have is fine. You do need some club soda or soda water. You do need simple syrup, which, as I've said in earlier videos, is just equal parts sugar and water. Dissolve it over the stove, let it cool for a bit. You need lemon juice from a fresh lemon, lemon wheels for a garnish, and then maraschino cherries for a garnish as well. So I'm going to take my Collins glass full of ice, just gonna top it with all of this stuff. So we've got 1 ounce of lemon juice ready to go. I'm gonna pop that in. And it's 1.5 ounces of gin. If you wanna add a little more, that's totally okay, I think. 1.5 ounces. And then you go with about 1/2 ounce of simple syrup. I've got my simple syrup right here. So let's just be sure and measure this. Just about 1/2 ounce to sweeten it up. And then you just top the whole thing with your soda water here. Just as full as you want it there. I'm just gonna leave a little room at the top because it fizzes, and I'm gonna stir it, and that might get the fizz going. So, just gonna stir that up. Now you can shake it too if you prefer to do that, if you prefer that method. but this is just what I read. So now that it's nice and fizzy and mixed up, and then we're going to garnish it. Just gonna take a lemon wheel, pop it in. That's really sinking in there. If you have a toothpick or a spear thing, you can make what they call a flag. I don't have any though, so I'm just kind of winging it. So, okay. All right, so there you go. This is a Tom Collins. Let's taste it. Delicious. And there you go. There's the story behind the Tom Collins. I don't know why this joke swept the nation with the fervor that it did, but I guess, like with a lot of funny stories, you just kind of had to be there. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next month, and cheers.